Gareth settled onto the cool, metallic floor of the nebula, feeling the ship's gentle hum beneath him as he rummaged through the sketch pad Penelope had left behind. The drawings inside were breathtaking, alive with the stories and memories that Penn had painstakingly captured on paper. He couldn't help but feel a sense of awe at her talent as he began to flip through the pages, each revealing a new masterpiece. The first drawing that caught his attention was of Deeg, the captain. It was only half finished, but even in its incomplete state, it radiated life. Deeg's grin was infectious, wide and genuine, almost as if the drawing could emit his laughter. Gareth could almost hear the captain's booming voice echoing in the room. The sketch depicted Deeg as he would be seated in his captain's chair, his confidence and charisma perfectly conveyed through Penn's artistry. Gareth carefully turned the page, eager to see what came next. His breath caught as he encountered a hyper-detailed rendering of Tunny T. The two-dimensional piece showcased the alien's intricate white and gray scales, capturing the micro-details that even the most advanced digital art would struggle to replicate. Tunny T was not facing the viewer, instead engrossed in a detailed laboratory table filled with instruments and equipment. Gareth felt a pang of nostalgia, recalling the moments they had shared in the lab, working together to solve the problems that had arisen during their mission. "Wow," Gareth whispered, momentarily forgetting to be quiet. He looked up, half expecting to see Penelope stirring from her slumber, but her soft snoring assured him that she was still deep in her dreams. He turned another page and was greeted by the sight of Thwill. The drawing was nearly life-sized and strikingly accurate, reflecting the creature's gray fur. Gareth couldn't help but admire Penn's ability to use simple graphite marks to create such depth and dimension. Thwill's furtive expression suggested a deep focus, perhaps on the ship's engines, an echo of the many times Gareth had seen Thwill examining the mechanical intricacies of the nebula. Another page turned, and Gareth found himself staring back at his own portrait. To his surprise, it didn't reflect the scowl he often wore, but instead captured a warm, kind expression. Gareth realized he was seated in a field of swaying grasses with a vibrant sunset glowing behind him. The memory flooded back, the small hill on the outskirts of the Raxian colony where he and Penn had shared a quiet moment together. The drawing was a beautiful encapsulation of that peaceful time, and it warmed his heart. It was clear that each of these portraits was a snapshot of real moments, memories Penn had pulled from her mind and translated onto the canvas with stunning clarity. He flipped another page and was met with something that sent a shiver down his spine, a drawing of Penn's helmet. The image depicted the full-cover helmet from their return to the humans, seen from above as if it were cradled in a human hand, presumably Penelope's own. But it was the reflection in the visor that unsettled him. Behind the helmet was the ceiling of the nebula's cargo hold, complete with the silhouette of the crane arm. But the figure reflected in the visor was haunting. It had Penelope's hair, shorter than it was now, and the outline of her shoulders. Yet the face, there was nothing there. It was a perfectly formed human shape, complete with contours and shading, but utterly devoid of features. No eyes, no nose, no mouth. Just smooth skin, leaving Gareth feeling a deep sense of unease. He had grown accustomed to reading Penelope's expressions, deciphering her emotions through her face. But here, in this drawing, that critical element was absent, and it left him feeling unsettled. Gareth shook his head, attempting to dismiss the creeping discomfort as he flipped the page again, desperate for distraction. His gaze fell upon the next drawing, and he could tell Penn had poured a significant amount of time into it. The piece spanned across both this page and the one behind it, depicting a group he recognized from Samir's stories, 6 humans gathered in what appeared to be a hangar, some perched on crates while others stood nearby. They all shared a bottle that looked remarkably like the one Penn had only taken a sip from earlier. The moment was alive in the drawing. It felt like a snapshot captured just after a joke had landed, the group bursting with laughter and joy. Gareth glanced ahead at the following pages, noting that each member of her former team had a corresponding portrait that preceded this group drawing. He could almost feel the warmth and care that had gone into these drawings. As he flipped back and forth, examining each figure in the group piece alongside their corresponding portraits, Gareth felt like he was finally putting faces to names he had only heard mentioned in passing. Until now, they had been vague silhouettes in his mind, just another set of figures from the recordings Samir had shown him. But now, he could match the builds to the faces, and even with the limited color palette, he was able to identify each one. The figure standing furthest to the left had to be Alvarez, her former captain. He was holding the bottle of Ricilla in one hand and a glass in the other, his expression a playful shrug. Gareth had imagined a different face entirely. In the drawing, Alvarez appeared almost youthful, with an unblemished complexion that belied his years of experience. His hair was shorter than Penn's, darker too, and he sported a well-groomed beard framing his mouth, which was frozen in a wide grin. To Alvarez's left stood a woman, older than Penn by several years and shorter in stature, but radiating confidence. This had to be Jane Ashira. She was roaring with laughter in the group drawing, her energy contagious. In her individual portrait, however, she wore a worried expression, her eyes soft but lined with the weight of stress. Gareth noticed a scar stretching up her neck and across one ear, a mark of past battles. Yet despite the mournful appearance, there was a warmth in her gaze that gave her a maternal aura. Next was a stout, well-built young man with a mischievous grin that reached both his group drawing and his portrait. This had to be Mac, whose bright smile was infectious. He was clean-shaven, with the same short haircut as Alvarez. Gareth recognized that the Terran military likely enforced rules about hair length, as all of them shared similar styles, short or shaved. But Mac's facial structure set him apart. His eyes were larger, his nose more prominent. Seeing Mac shifted Gareth's perception of Alvarez, making the captain seem almost ancient in comparison. If Alvarez looked youthful, Mac appeared downright boyish. Adjacent to Mac was Leyhin Akari. Though she was the smallest of the group, she emanated an undeniable strength. Her features were delicate, her eyes bright and lively. Gareth was struck by how the two of them seemed to share a special bond. In the drawing, they looked as if they were conspirators, grinning at each other with mischief. Penn had captured a moment that spoke volumes about their camaraderie. In her portrait, however, Ley wore a proud and regal expression, a stark contrast to the playful energy she exuded in the group drawing. Between Ley and Penn, who occupied the far right of the drawing, was a dark-skinned man with a shaved head, Joshua Wally. He smiled along with the others, yet his expression was more subdued. Gareth noticed the heavy worry lines on his face, which seemed to age him beyond his years. In his portrait, Joshua's piercing eyes stared directly at the viewer, conveying a mix of wistfulness and mourning, suggesting a depth of experience that was both tragic and profound. And then there was Penn. Her face was one he knew well, yet she had chosen not to provide a corresponding portrait for herself. In the group drawing, she was laughing, a drink held playfully in one hand as she leaned against the crate. Gareth was struck by how different she looked in this moment compared to their usual interactions. She appeared weightless, unburdened by the weight of her past. It was a side of her he cherished, a reminder of the joy she carried deep within, even amid the struggles they faced together. As Gareth flipped back and forth between the pages one last time, a small piece of paper slipped from the sketch pad, fluttering to the floor. He picked it up and discovered it was a replica of the group drawing, now in the form of a printed photograph. The image felt like a tangible connection to Penn's past, a physical reminder of the bonds she had formed with her fire team. Lost in the warmth of these memories, Gareth was jolted back to reality when Penelope's voice broke through the quiet. "Done snooping?" she teased, her tone light and playful. The sketch pad slipped from his hands, and the photograph fell behind it. Caught off guard, Gareth struggled to find his words, his mind racing with embarrassment. "Hey, hey, hey! Don't damage my stuff," she added, a grin tugging at her lips as she swung her legs off the bed. Pen leaned down, retrieving the pad and photograph. Gareth felt his cheeks flush with heat as he remained frozen in place. "I'm just messing with you, it's fine," she said, noticing what he had been looking at. "I could point out who's who if you want. I know I mentioned them before, but I suppose their names don't mean much to you." Her lightheartedness snapped Gareth back to the moment, and he remembered the confession he had been holding onto since the night before. "I actually do know who's who," he began, taking a deep breath to steady himself. "I kind of have something to tell you that I should have mentioned earlier." Pen's head cocked to the side, her bemused expression shifting to one of curiosity. "What is it?" Gareth took another steadying breath, summoning the courage he needed. "I know who each of them are because when we were with your friend Samir, during that dinner when I went to the bathroom, he showed me the restricted footage of what happened to you all in that building, the city." As soon as he uttered those words, Penelope's bemused expression vanished, replaced by a severe glare that pierced through him like a dagger. The lightness in the room seemed to dissipate, leaving behind an air of tension that filled the space like a heavy fog. Gareth's heart raced as he prepared for the impact of her reaction, aware that he had opened a door to memories she might not be ready to confront. Penelope's gaze bore into him, her eyes filled with a mixture of disbelief and something deeper, an emotion he couldn't quite name. The memories associated with that footage were surely painful, and he regretted bringing it up, but he knew it was necessary. They needed to share their experiences, to understand each other fully if they were to forge a bond that could withstand the trials ahead. "Why would you do that?" she finally asked, her voice low and trembling with emotion. "Why would you expose yourself to something like that?" Gareth swallowed hard, searching for the right words. "I needed to understand, Pen. I needed to know what you went through, what your team endured. It's not just about you, it's about us. If we're going to face whatever is coming, we need to be honest with each other." "Honest?" she shot back, her voice rising. "Is this honesty, Gareth? Sneaking behind my back to watch something I can't even bear to think about?" His heart sank at her accusation. "I didn't mean to invade your privacy. I thought it would help me understand you better, help me be there for you." Penelope's eyes narrowed, the weight of her pain evident in her expression. "You can't just assume that. You don't know what it was like, what I lost, what my team lost. It's not something I can easily share, not when it still feels so raw." Gareth nodded, understanding now the depth of her feelings. "I get that. I really do. But I want to be here for you. I want you to know that you don't have to carry this alone. We're in this together, whether you like it or not." For a moment, silence enveloped them, thick and heavy. Penelope's eyes searched his, looking for sincerity, perhaps even a glimmer of understanding. Finally, she let out a long breath, the tension in her shoulders easing slightly. "Maybe I should have talked about it sooner," she admitted, her voice softer now. It's hard to relive those moments. The guilt, the memories, they haunt me." Gareth reached out, his hand finding hers, the warmth of her skin grounding him. "You're not alone in this, Pen. I'm here. Whatever you need, whenever you're ready, I'll listen. But we have to face it together. You can't keep pushing me away." She looked down at their hands, her thumb brushing against his. The tension between them began to thaw, but the weight of her memories still lingered in the air. "I don't know if I can," she whispered, vulnerability creeping into her voice. "Then let me help you," Gareth replied gently, squeezing her hand. "Let me carry some of that weight with you. We're a team, right?" Penelope looked up, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. For the first time, he saw a flicker of hope in her gaze, a willingness to let someone in. It was a small step, but it felt monumental. "Okay," she finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Okay, I'll try." Gareth felt a wave of relief wash over him. They were making progress, slowly chipping away at the walls that had grown between them. He knew it wouldn't be easy, but it was a start. "Let's take it one step at a time," he suggested, trying to lighten the mood. "We can talk about your team, about what happened. And when you're ready, I can share some of my own stories. I promise, no more sneak peeks without your permission." Penn chuckled softly, the sound a balm for the tension that had filled the room. "Yeah, no more peeking, okay? I'd like to share on my own terms." "Deal," Gareth replied, a smile spreading across his face. For the first time in what felt like ages, Penn's lips curved into a genuine smile, the warmth returning to her features. The shadows of their pasts still loomed, but together they could begin to carve a path through the darkness. As they sat there, hand in hand, Gareth felt a renewed sense of determination. Whatever lay ahead, they would face it together, armed with honesty, understanding, and the bond they were slowly building. And in that moment, surrounded by Penn's drawings and memories, he realized that their journey was just beginning, a journey filled with challenges, healing, and perhaps even love. Days turned into weeks as Gareth and Penelope navigated the intricacies of their shared experiences, slowly unraveling the threads of their pasts while weaving new ones. They learned to rely on each other, offering support and understanding in moments of darkness. Their connection deepened, forged in the fires of vulnerability and trust. Gareth found himself opening up in ways he hadn't anticipated. He shared stories from his own past, tales of loss, of the struggles he faced as he tried to find his place in a galaxy filled with chaos. Penn listened intently, her eyes never leaving his as he recounted his journey, from the time he first enlisted to the struggles he faced with his own identity amidst the vastness of space. In turn, Penn revealed bits and pieces of her life before joining the military. She spoke of her childhood dreams, the aspirations that had led her to become a soldier, and the heavy burden of guilt she carried for those she had lost during their missions. Each revelation drew them closer, bridging the gaps that once seemed insurmountable. One evening, as they sat under the dim glow of the ship's lights, Penn flipped through her sketch pad once more, pausing at the drawing of her team. "I miss them," she admitted softly, tracing the outlines of their faces with her fingers. "Sometimes, it feels like I'm the only one left who remembers." Gareth squeezed her hand gently. "You're not alone, Penn. They live on through you, through your memories, your stories, and even your art. You're keeping their spirit alive." A small smile graced her lips as she looked at him. "You're right. I need to remember the good times, not just the bad." He nodded, encouraged by her words. "How about we honor them together? We could organize a small memorial, something to celebrate their lives and what they meant to you." Penn's eyes brightened at the idea. "That's a beautiful thought, Gareth. I'd love that. It could be a way for me to heal and share my memories with you more openly." And so, they began to plan the memorial, gathering materials and creating a space aboard the nebula where Penn could celebrate her team's lives. As they worked side by side, Gareth couldn't help but feel a sense of purpose growing within him. He wanted to help Penn find closure, to support her as she navigated the waters of grief. On the day of the memorial, the cargo hold of the nebula was transformed. Gareth had helped Penn create a small altar adorned with photographs, drawings, and mementos from her team. Each item held a story, a memory that shaped Penn's past and connected her to those she had loved. As they stood together, the weight of the moment hung in the air. Penn spoke softly about each member of her fire team, sharing cherished memories that brought laughter and tears. Gareth listened, his heart swelling with admiration for her courage and resilience. "I remember the first time we all met," Penn said, a wistful smile crossing her face. "It was chaotic, of course. We were thrown together during training, and it felt like we were all strangers trying to find our footing." Gareth chuckled, imagining the scene. "I can picture it now. A group of mismatched soldiers trying to bond, Exactly, Penn exclaimed. But somehow, we clicked. We became a family, and even when things got tough, we always had each other's backs. As she continued to share stories, Gareth felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude for this moment, the connection they were forging and the memories they were bringing to life. Penn's laughter echoed through the cargo hold, a beautiful melody that filled the space with warmth and hope. When the memorial came to a close, Penn turned to Gareth, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "Thank you for being here, for helping me remember them. I don't think I could have done this without you." Gareth's heart swelled with pride. "You're stronger than you realize, Penn. I'm just glad I could be a part of it." In that moment, he realized that they were no longer just two individuals trying to navigate their pain. They were partners, united in their journey of healing and understanding. As the days turned into weeks, the bond between Gareth and Penn deepened further. They shared laughter, quiet moments, and the occasional argument, each interaction weaving a tapestry of shared experiences that only served to strengthen their connection. They began to explore the ship together, learning more about each other's strengths and weaknesses, desires and fears. Gareth introduced Penn to his favorite activities, stargazing on the observation deck and sharing stories of the constellations that had once guided him through the dark. In return, Penn took Gareth on a culinary journey, teaching him the art of preparing some of her favorite dishes from Earth. They experimented with flavors and spices, their laughter echoing through the galley as they made a mess of the kitchen together. Each meal became a celebration of their growing bond, a testament to the life they were building side by side. One evening, after a particularly successful cooking session, Penn collapsed onto the couch, her laughter still bubbling over. "I can't believe we made that edible," she said, wiping tears of joy from her eyes. Gareth joined her, their shoulders touching as they settled into the couch. "It was an adventure, for sure. I'm still amazed at how well we managed to not burn the place down." As they sat together, the glow of the stars outside casting a soft light around them, Penn turned serious. "You know, Gareth, I never thought I'd find someone who would understand me like this. Someone who would be willing to share the burden of my past." His heart ached at her words, a mixture of joy and sadness flooding through him. "I never imagined I'd find someone as strong as you either. Your resilience inspires me, Penn. I want to be here for you, not just now but always." Her gaze softened, and for a moment, they sat in comfortable silence, the weight of their connection enveloping them like a warm blanket. It was in that moment Gareth realized he wanted to be more than just friends with Penn. He wanted to be her partner, her rock, and perhaps even something deeper. With that thought racing through his mind, Gareth turned to her, his heart pounding in his chest. "Penn, But before he could finish, Penn interrupted, a teasing smile on her face. "Are you going to confess your undying love for me or something?" He chuckled, the tension breaking as he felt a rush of affection for her lightheartedness. "Well, I was going to, but now that you mention it." "Save it for the right moment," she teased, nudging him playfully. "Let's not rush things, okay?" "Fair enough," he replied, feeling a mix of relief and anticipation. They were taking things at their own pace, building their relationship on a foundation of trust and understanding. As time went on, Gareth and Penelope continued to grow closer, navigating the ups and downs of their journey together. They celebrated victories, both big and small, and offered each other comfort during the more challenging moments. Their bond blossomed into something beautiful, a relationship rooted in shared experiences, unwavering support, and a love that seemed to flourish effortlessly. One fateful night, as they sat on the observation deck, the stars twinkling above them, Gareth turned to Penelope, his heart racing with the weight of unspoken words. "Penn, I've been thinking." "What's on your mind?" she asked, her gaze steady and encouraging. "I know we've been building something special, and I want you to know how much you mean to me," he said, his voice steady despite the pounding of his heart. "You've become such an important part of my life, and I can't imagine facing the future without you by my side." Pen's eyes softened, a smile blooming on her lips. "I feel the same way, Gareth. You've brought so much light into my life." Taking a deep breath, Gareth took the plunge. "Then let's not wait any longer. Let's embrace whatever this is between us. I want to be with you, Pen, really be with you." One night, as they lay in the small confines of their quarters, Pen's voice broke the silence. "Gareth, what if we don't make it back? What if this mission changes everything?" His heart ached at her words. He turned to face her, their eyes meeting in the dim light. "We'll make it back, Pen. We've faced worse, and we've always come out stronger. This time will be no different." "I wish I could believe that," she whispered, her vulnerability cutting through him. "Trust me," he urged, reaching for her hand. "We have each other, and that's what matters. No matter what happens, we'll find a way through this together." As the weight of her worries hung between them, Gareth felt a sense of resolve wash over him. They were more than just partners, they were a team, forged in the fires of adversity and bound by love. And as they held each other close, Gareth vowed to protect Pen at all costs, to fight for their future, no matter the odds. They would face whatever challenges lay ahead, hand in hand, ready to carve their path through the darkness together. The day of the mission arrived with an air of tension that permeated the ship. Gareth and Pen, both dressed in their tactical gear, stood at the command center, surrounded by their team. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation, the weight of their responsibilities heavy on their shoulders. "All right, everyone," their commanding officer called out, drawing their attention. "Today, we embark on a critical mission. Intelligence indicates a potential threat that could disrupt the peace in this sector. We need to neutralize it before it escalates." Gareth felt his heart race, adrenaline coursing through his veins as he exchanged a determined glance with Pen. They had trained for this, prepared for every possible scenario. They were ready. As they boarded the shuttle, the reality of their situation began to settle in. Pen sat beside him, her expression focused yet slightly apprehensive. "Remember what we talked about," she said, her voice steady. "No matter what happens, we stick together." "Always," Gareth affirmed, placing his hand over hers for reassurance. The shuttle's engines roared to life, and as they lifted off, Gareth felt a mix of excitement and fear. The mission was critical, and they had a job to do. He glanced at Pen, taking in her fierce determination, and felt a renewed sense of purpose. When they reached the target zone, the tension in the air was palpable. The team disembarked, moving swiftly to establish a perimeter. Gareth took a moment to assess their surroundings, his senses heightened as he scanned for potential threats. "Stay sharp," their commanding officer instructed. "We don't know what we're up against." As they moved deeper into the area, they encountered hostile forces. The sound of gunfire erupted around them, and Gareth's instincts kicked in. He and Pen fell into sync, covering each other's backs as they navigated through the chaos. "Watch your left!" Gareth shouted, taking down an enemy combatant just as Pen moved to cover his flank. They moved as one unit, their training paying off as they worked together seamlessly. Gareth felt a surge of pride as he watched Pen hold her ground, her confidence radiating even in the heat of battle. But as the skirmish intensified, a sudden explosion rocked the area, sending shockwaves through the ground. Gareth was thrown off balance, tumbling to the ground as debris rained down around them. "Gareth!" Pen's voice cut through the chaos, her eyes wide with panic. He quickly regained his footing, scanning for her. "I'm here," he shouted back, adrenaline pumping through him. As he pushed through the haze, he spotted her on the ground, struggling to stand. Fear gripped him as he rushed to her side. "Pen, are you okay?" "I'm fine," she gasped, her voice strained. "We need to keep moving." But as they regrouped with their team, the reality of their situation began to settle in. They were outnumbered and the stakes had never felt higher. Form a defensive line, their commanding officer barked, urgency lacing his voice. We have to hold them off until reinforcements arrive. Gareth and Penn fell back into formation, their bond unbreakable as they fought side by side. But as the battle raged on, Gareth couldn't shake the feeling of impending danger. Every time he turned, he felt the pressure of the enemy closing in around them. He focused on keeping Penn safe, their movements synchronized as they fought against the tide. But as the minutes ticked by, exhaustion began to set in. "Gareth!" Penn called out, her voice breaking through the noise. "We can't hold them back much longer." "We have to," he shouted back, determination fueling his words. "We're not giving up now." Just as he finished speaking, another explosion erupted nearby, sending shockwaves through the ground. Gareth instinctively reached for Penn, but the force knocked them both off their feet. Gareth scrambled to regain his balance, but as he looked up, a figure loomed over him, weapon raised. Time seemed to slow as he realized the danger. "Penn, watch out!" he shouted, lunging toward her. In an instant, Penn reacted, moving to protect him as she tackled him out of the way. The blast rang out, a deafening roar that echoed through the chaos. Gareth's heart dropped as he turned, fear washing over him. "Penn!" he cried, panic flooding his veins as he reached for her. But as the smoke cleared, Gareth's worst nightmare unfolded before him. Penn lay on the ground, unmoving, surrounded by debris. "No! No, no, no!" he shouted, scrambling to her side. "Penn, please, wake up!" Desperation surged within him as he checked for a pulse, his hands shaking. She had to be okay. They had fought so hard to be together, and he couldn't lose her now. "Medics!" he yelled, his voice hoarse with emotion. "We need medics over here!" Time felt like it had stopped as he cradled her head in his hands, panic tightening his chest. He could hear the chaos around him, the sounds of battle, the cries of their teammates, but all that mattered was Penn. "Stay with me, Penn," he urged, his voice breaking. "You're going to be okay. Just hold on." As he spoke, he felt the weight of his promise pressing down on him, the promise to protect her, to fight for their future. But now, it felt like the universe was conspiring against them. The medics arrived, their presence a beacon of hope amid the darkness. They quickly assessed Penn, their voices urgent as they worked to stabilize her. Gareth watched, helpless, his heart racing as they prepared to transport her. "Get her out of here," he shouted, desperation lacing his words. "Please, don't let her go." As they lifted Penn onto a stretcher, Gareth felt a surge of fear. "I'm coming with you," he insisted, his voice firm. "Sir, you need to stay back," one of the medics urged. "Not a chance," he replied, determination burning in his eyes. "I won't leave her side." With that, they rushed Penn away, and Gareth followed closely, his heart pounding in his chest. As they reached the shuttle, he felt the weight of the situation crashing down on him. In that moment, he realized just how much Penn meant to him, how deeply he had fallen for her amidst the chaos of their lives. And as the medics worked frantically to save her, Gareth vowed that he would do everything in his power to ensure she made it through this. As they boarded the shuttle, the doors sealed shut, and the engines roared to life. Gareth sat beside Penn, his heart racing as he watched the medics work, fear gnawing at him. "Come on, Penn," he whispered, desperation lacing his voice. "You're a fighter. Don't you dare give up on me now." But as the shuttle sped through the darkness, he couldn't shake the feeling of helplessness that enveloped him. They had fought together, faced so much, and now it felt like everything was slipping through his fingers. When they finally reached the medical bay, the team rushed Penn into the operating room, and Gareth was left standing outside, pacing anxiously. Minutes felt like hours as he waited, each passing moment filled with uncertainty. He could still hear the echoes of the battle, the chaos that had led them to this moment. Every memory of their time together flooded his mind, the laughter, the late-night talks, the bond they had forged. He couldn't lose her. Finally, the door swung open, and one of the medics emerged, her expression serious. "You're Gareth, right?" He nodded, his heart racing. "How is she?" "We stabilized her, but she's in critical condition," the medic explained. "We did everything we could, but it's going to be a long recovery process. You should prepare for the possibility that she might need more time to heal than we initially thought." Gareth felt his heart drop, the weight of her words settling in. "Can I see her?" The medic nodded. "Just be gentle. She's still unconscious, and we're monitoring her closely." As he entered the room, the sight of Pen lying there, pale and fragile, struck him like a physical blow. He approached her bedside, his heart aching at the sight. "Hey," he said softly, taking her hand in his. "It's me, Gareth. I'm right here." He felt the warmth of her hand against his, and for a moment, he allowed himself to believe she could hear him. "I need you to fight, Pen. You're the strongest person I know. You've always fought for what you believe in, and now it's my turn to fight for you." As he sat there, watching her, memories of their time together flooded back, every laugh, every moment shared. He felt the weight of his promise to protect her, and it ignited a fire within him. "I'm not leaving your side," he vowed, determination filling his voice. "I'll be right here when you wake up. We have so much left to do, so many adventures waiting for us. You're not alone in this." Days turned into weeks as Gareth remained by Pen's side, his heart aching with every moment she stayed unconscious. He refused to leave her, spending every night in a chair next to her bed, whispering stories of their time together, hoping to reach her. As he shared their memories, he could almost see her smile, feel the warmth of her laughter. He talked about the stars they had gazed at, the meals they had cooked together, and the dreams they had woven into the fabric of their future. But the longer Pen remained unresponsive, the more doubt crept into his heart. What if she never woke up? What if all their dreams were lost to the darkness? One night, as he sat in silence, a soft sound broke through the stillness. Gareth's heart raced as he leaned closer, straining to hear. "Pen," he whispered, hope igniting within him. But it wasn't until the next morning that he finally saw a flicker of movement. He woke to the sound of her voice, weak and fragile. "Gareth?" His heart soared as he rushed to her side. "Pen!" "You're awake." Her eyes fluttered open, and for a moment, they locked gazes, the world around them fading away. "What happened?" she asked, confusion clouding her eyes. "You got hurt," he explained gently, his heart racing with relief. "But you're safe now. You're in the medical bay." She blinked slowly, taking in her surroundings. I remember the mission, the explosion." "It's okay," Gareth said softly, squeezing her hand. "You're here, and you're going to be okay." "I promise." Tears welled in her eyes, and she looked at him with a mixture of fear and gratitude. "I was so scared." "I know," he replied, his voice steady. "But you fought, Pen. You're so strong. I never doubted you for a second." A small smile tugged at her lips, and Gareth felt a wave of relief wash over him. "You stayed with me," she whispered, her voice barely above a whisper. "Always," he vowed, his heart swelling with love. "I'll always be here for you, no matter what." As they shared a moment of connection, Pen's eyes sparkled with determination. "What's next for us?" she asked, her voice gaining strength. Gareth felt a rush of hope. "We'll take it one step at a time. You focus on healing, and I'll be right here, cheering you on." With that, they began to chart their path forward, their bond stronger than ever. The road ahead would be filled with challenges, but together, They were ready to face whatever came their way. As Pen continued her recovery, Gareth was right by her side every step of the way. They navigated the ups and downs of her healing process, celebrating small victories as she regained her strength. Every day, he brought her flowers, shared stories from the mission, and reminded her of the dreams they had woven together. He was her anchor, the unwavering support she needed as she fought to reclaim her life. "Remember when we talked about exploring the galaxy?" he asked one day, a smile spreading across his face. "Once you're better, we're going to do just that. I'll take you to see the stars up close." Pen's eyes lit up at the thought, her smile radiating warmth. "I can't wait," she replied, her voice filled with determination. "I want to see everything." With each passing day, Pen's strength grew, and so did her determination to heal. She pushed through physical therapy, her resolve unwavering as she focused on regaining her mobility. Gareth watched with pride as she worked tirelessly, her spirit shining bright even on the toughest days. "You're incredible," he told her one afternoon as they sat in the therapy room, her determination palpable. "I'm just getting started," she replied, a fierce glint in her eyes. "I have so much to accomplish, and I won't let anything hold me back." As the weeks turned into months, Pen continued to heal, her spirit unbreakable. And as she regained her strength, the bond between her and Gareth deepened even further. They shared quiet moments, laughter, and dreams for the future, always leaning on each other for support. Eventually, the day came when Pen was cleared to leave the medical bay. As they stood outside, basking in the sunlight, Gareth couldn't help but feel a rush of excitement. "Ready for our next adventure?" he asked, his eyes sparkling with anticipation. "More than ever," she replied, her smile infectious. With renewed determination, they stepped forward, ready to embrace whatever awaited them. They had faced darkness together and emerged stronger on the other side. Now, they were ready to explore the galaxy, hand in hand, united by love and the promise of a brighter future. As they set out on their journey, Pen and Gareth discovered new worlds and experiences, their bond deepening with every step. They encountered breathtaking landscapes, met fascinating cultures, and reveled in the joy of discovery together. And through it all, Gareth remained Pen's unwavering support, always there to lift her up when doubts crept in. They faced challenges together, turning obstacles into opportunities for growth. One night, as they stood on the observation deck of the nebula, gazing at the vastness of the universe before them, Pen turned to Gareth, her expression serious. "You know, I never thought I'd find someone who would understand me like you do." His heart swelled at her words, the weight of their journey flooding through him. "You've taught me so much about resilience and strength, Pen. I'm grateful every day that we found each other." "I feel the same way," she said, her eyes shining with emotion. "I never want to lose this connection we have." "You won't," Gareth promised, taking her hands in his. "We're in this together, no matter what comes our way." As they stood there, their fingers entwined, Pen leaned closer, her voice barely a whisper. "I love you, Gareth." Those words sent a rush of warmth through him, and he cupped her face in his hands. "I love you too, Pen. More than I ever thought possible." And in that moment, surrounded by the vastness of the universe, they shared a kiss that held the promise of a future filled with love, adventure, and endless possibilities. As they embarked on their journey together, Gareth and Pen continued to explore the galaxy, their bond growing deeper with every experience. They faced challenges and triumphs alike, always supporting each other as they navigated the complexities of life aboard the nebula. Their connection became a source of strength, helping them tackle every obstacle with unwavering resolve. Pen's resilience inspired Gareth, reminding him of the power of love and determination. Months passed, and they found themselves in the midst of a new adventure, a diplomatic mission to foster peace between two rival factions on a distant planet. Gareth and Pen were tasked with bridging the gap between the opposing sides, a challenge that required not only their skills as soldiers but also their ability to empathize and connect with others. "Are you ready for this?" Gareth asked, his gaze searching Pen's face as they prepared for the mission. Pen nodded, her expression resolute. "We've faced tougher challenges together. I believe we can make a difference." With that, they stepped into the unknown, determined to find a way to bring peace to the fractured factions. As they navigated the complexities of diplomacy, they relied on each other's strengths, balancing their roles as negotiators and peacemakers. Gareth admired Pen's ability to connect with people, her empathy shining through even in tense situations. But as the negotiations progressed, they faced unexpected setbacks. Tensions escalated, and old wounds resurfaced, threatening to derail their efforts. During one particularly heated meeting, Gareth could sense the frustration mounting. "We need to find common ground," he urged, trying to steer the conversation back to a constructive path. Pen, sensing Gareth's anxiety, placed a reassuring hand on his arm. "Remember our goal. We're here to bring peace, not to take sides." Her words grounded him, reminding him of their purpose. They leaned on each other, working tirelessly to foster understanding and bridge the divide. After countless meetings and discussions, they began to see progress. Slowly, the factions started to listen, their walls of animosity beginning to crumble. One evening, as they wrapped up another long day of negotiations, Gareth turned to Pen, a sense of pride swelling within him. "We did it! They're starting to understand." Pen smiled, her eyes sparkling with hope. "This is just the beginning. We can keep building on this foundation." As they stood together, reflecting on their journey, Gareth realized how far they had come, not just as individuals, but as a team. Their bond had weathered storms, and together they had forged a path toward healing. Days turned into weeks, and their efforts culminated in a historic peace treaty between the factions. The moment they announced the agreement, cheers erupted, and Gareth felt a wave of relief wash over him. "I can't believe we actually did it," he said, turning to Pen, his voice filled with awe. She beamed at him, her joy infectious. "This wouldn't have been possible without you. We made a great team." As they celebrated the victory, surrounded by grateful representatives from both factions, Gareth felt a profound sense of fulfillment. They had fought for each other and for a brighter future, and now they were witnessing the fruits of their labor. In that moment, amidst the festivities, Gareth turned to Pen, his heart swelling with emotion. "I want to keep fighting for this future we're building together." Her eyes softened, and she nodded. "Me too, Gareth. Together, we can accomplish anything." And as they shared a kiss under the stars, the weight of their journey and the promise of their future enveloped them, filling their hearts with hope and love. With the peace treaty successfully signed, Gareth and Pen returned to the nebula, their hearts light with the joy of their accomplishment. The journey had strengthened their bond, and they found themselves more in sync than ever. As they settled back into their routine aboard the ship, they reveled in the comfort of their shared moments, quiet dinners, stargazing on the observation deck, and late-night conversations that delved into their hopes and dreams. One evening, as they stood together, gazing out at the vast expanse of stars, Pen turned to Gareth, a thoughtful expression on her face. "What do you want to do next?" Gareth considered her question, excitement bubbling within him. "I want to explore. There are so many worlds out there waiting for us." "Like the ones we talked about?" she asked, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "Exactly," he replied, his heart racing at the thought. "We could visit the crystal caves on Xander or the floating cities of Aurora. The possibilities are endless." A smile spread across Pen's face, and Gareth felt a surge of happiness. "Let's do it. Let's see everything together." With that, they began to plan their next adventure, fueled by the thrill of discovery and the bond that had grown between them. they charted their course, eager to explore new worlds and immerse themselves in the beauty of the universe. As they set off on their journey, Gareth and Penn encountered breathtaking landscapes and cultures unlike anything they had ever seen. Each new experience brought them closer, their love deepening as they shared in the wonder of the galaxy. One day, while visiting the floating gardens of Aurora, they stumbled upon a hidden grove filled with luminescent flowers. The beauty of the scene took their breath away, and Gareth pulled Penn close, overwhelmed by the moment. "This is incredible," he murmured, his heart racing. "I can't believe we're here together." Penn smiled up at him, her eyes shimmering with joy. "I wouldn't want to be anywhere else." In that magical moment, surrounded by the glow of the flowers, Gareth knew he wanted to take their journey to the next level. He took a deep breath, his heart pounding as he reached for a small pouch hidden in his pocket. "Penn," he said, his voice steady yet filled with emotion. "There's something I need to ask you." Her expression shifted to curiosity, and Gareth felt the weight of the world around them fade away. "What is it?" He knelt down, pulling out a delicate ring that sparkled in the soft light. "I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Will you marry me?" Tears welled in Penn's eyes as her hand flew to her mouth, disbelief etched on her features. "Gareth, are you serious?" "I've never been more serious in my life," he replied, his heart racing. "You're my partner, my best friend, and the love of my life. I want to explore this universe with you forever." With that, Penn burst into laughter, her joy contagious. "Yes, yes, of course, I will." Gareth slipped the ring onto her finger, his heart soaring as she wrapped her arms around him. In that moment, surrounded by the luminescent glow of the flowers, they sealed their love with a kiss, the universe around them fading into insignificance. As they embarked on this new chapter of their lives, Penn and Gareth continued to explore the galaxy together, their bond growing stronger with each adventure. They faced challenges, celebrated victories, and built a life filled with love and laughter. Eventually, they returned to their home planet, ready to share the news of their engagement with friends and family. The warmth of their loved ones enveloped them, and Gareth felt a sense of belonging wash over him. As they celebrated their engagement, Gareth couldn't help but reflect on how far they had come. From their initial meeting on the nebula to facing life and death situations together, they had forged an unbreakable bond. When the time came to plan their wedding, Penn's excitement was infectious. They worked together to create a celebration that reflected their unique love, a fusion of cultures, traditions, and their shared adventures. On the day of their wedding, surrounded by loved ones and the beauty of the universe, Gareth stood at the altar, his heart racing with anticipation. He watched as Penn walked down the aisle, her smile radiant, her eyes filled with love. "Today, we become one," she said, her voice steady as she gazed into his eyes. And as they exchanged vows, promising to support and cherish each other for all eternity, Gareth felt a rush of emotion. They had faced so much together, and now they were ready to embrace the future side by side. As they shared their first kiss as a married couple, cheers erupted around them, and Gareth knew that this was just the beginning of their greatest adventure yet. Together, they would face the universe, hand in hand, ready to carve their path through the stars, bound by love and the promise of a Lee.